Ever notice that some of the most interesting people are the quiet ones online? They don't post selfies, they don't share their wins, they don't chase likes, they simply watch. But what if I told you these silent digital ghosts carry a psychology far deeper than you think? Today, we're diving into the hidden world of people who don't post on public platforms. And trust me, once you hear this, you'll never look at social media silence the same way again.
In a world where everyone is broadcasting their lives 24/7, there exists a quiet tribe, a group of people who choose not to post on public platforms. They scroll, they observe, they listen, but they rarely speak. To understand them, we have to zoom out and look at the psychology behind silence. Because silence, especially in a noisy world, is never accidental. They don't post because they're not performing, they're living. In most people's minds, posting is performing. It's an act, a digital stage, a place where the spotlight is always on, and perfection is the ticket to applause. But the silent users? They don't audition for validation. They live life without needing to document every second. Their memories are stored in their minds, not in an algorithm. Their joy isn't measured in likes, comments, or shares. They're not hiding. They're prioritizing real life over digital noise. They watch people more than people watch them. When someone doesn't speak, you notice their eyes. You notice how closely they study the room. Silent users online are the same. They're observers, not broadcasters. They study patterns, behaviors, emotions, trends. They see what most people miss because they're not busy creating content. They're decoding it. They're like the quiet person at the party who knows everything that happened because they were actually paying attention. They value privacy in a world that treats privacy like a currency. Privacy used to be normal. Now it's rare, and rare things become valuable. People who don't post on public platforms understand something deep. The moment you share your life online, you lose control over how people interpret it. Maybe they've been judged before. Maybe they've seen toxic comment sections. Maybe they simply don't want their life archived on a server forever. Their silence is a shield, not from the world, but from the distortion of the world. They aren't antisocial, they're anti-superficial. Not posting doesn't mean they're disconnected. In fact, most of them are deeply connected, just not publicly. They prefer direct conversations over broadcasts, deep meaning over empty attention, real connection over digital applause. Public platforms often reward the loudest, not the wisest. These people choose meaning over noise. They don't need to prove anything. People post achievements, cars, vacations, bodies, moments. Nothing wrong with that, unless it becomes a scoreboard. But silent users? They're not trying to prove their worth. They're not competing in the highlight reel Olympics. They're secure within themselves. Their confidence doesn't need public confirmation. They fear misinterpretation more than they desire attention. There's something fascinating in psychology. Some people think deeply before they speak. So imagine how deeply they think before posting something that stays online forever. These individuals aren't afraid of being seen. They're afraid of being misunderstood. Words can be twisted. Pictures can be judged. Opinions can be attacked. So they choose selective silence. Not out of fear, but because they value emotional safety. Their mind is a safe house, not a marketplace. When you post, you open the door for opinions. But people who don't post keep that door closed. Their thoughts are their own. Their feelings are their own. Their experiences are sacred, not content. They understand something powerful. Not everything needs to be shared to exist. Not everything needs an audience to matter. They're often the most creative people, just not publicly. It's ironic. The people who don't post are sometimes the ones with the richest inner worlds. They think deeply. They imagine vividly. They feel intensely. But instead of expressing it publicly, they channel it into private forms. Writing, art, quiet hobbies, deep conversations, or simply internal reflections. They don't create for applause. They create for peace. They're not addicted to online identity. Many people depend on online presence for identity. They feel seen when they post. They feel validated when people react. Silent users? They don't outsource self-worth. Their identity lives offline. Their sense of self isn't tied to an app. They don't post because they don't need to be everywhere. One final layer of psychology. The silent ones know that being unseen is a power. When you're not constantly visible, you're unpredictable. You're mysterious. You're harder to judge, harder to label, harder to control. In a world where everyone is trying to be known, They choose to be understood only by the right people. So here's the twist. The people who don't post aren't silent because they have nothing to say. They're silent because they know the value of their voice. They're choosing how much of themselves the world gets to see. You're simply living life with depth and choosing present over the performances, and that is a powerful thing.